Constantine. What are we diving into today?
Today is, maybe on the surface, it sounds like a topic that a lot of people talk about, but I really like your view of it, which is self-care. I think a lot of people think or have visions of what it looks like, but maybe you could tell us a little bit more about your vision of it, which I think really hits the nail on the head, because it's just a different take on what most people think when it comes to self-care.
Yeah. I ask people the question all the time. How are you taking care of yourself? What's a self-care routine? Mostly people will just talk about doing enjoyable things.
Right.
I don't know. I watched TV or Netflix, or I slept in, or I don't know, I did a face mask, I went to the spa, or I got a massage. Are those things self-care? Sure.
Right.
But I don't think that those are the most effective parts of self-care. I think the self-care is effective when we're acknowledging that oftentimes it's actually work. Right? Oftentimes we need to work to take care of ourselves and our feelings and our experiences. Whereas simply, putting a face mask on, yeah, that is good for your skin.
Right.
It can relax you a little bit, but are you working on yourself? Are you caring for yourself? Oftentimes I think people take those, doing nice things for yourself,
right,
and they perceive it as self-care, but what they actually need is to do like some work on themselves.
Right. No, I hear that. I gotta be honest with you, when you said that was a light bulb for me. That is so true. I really like how our last conversation was about, using kind of shame in a different way. And I think this is so similar in a way that let's just not assume self-care. I don't know how self-care got the rep of like spa and enjoyment. Well, when you think about, forget about the self or the concept of self-care, just caring for something. When you care for kids, when you care for plants, when you care for animals, that's not, can anybody say like it's really always enjoyable to take care of kids or animals or anything else? No, it's hard work.
Yeah.
Like right now we're considering getting a dog ourselves, but I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe a year away, because it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's caring for another being, right? So here, I hope it's a light bulb for other people. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be caring for yourself.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Not that I'm here to talk about how I'm the best self-care person on the planet, but an example the other day, I was feeling super emotional. Oh my gosh. Like in a terrible mood, like kind of down, like I was really feeling a lot, and I was like, I know what I need to do. Got the shoes on, ran a bunch of miles.
Mm-hmm.
Came back in, showered, was a much different person, right? I needed to do that, like and it works very well for me, that very physical, rigorous activity to process my emotions,
right,
get them out, go through them, right? Now, if I took all those emotions and I instead, just laid down on the couch and watched Netflix, and this is my self-care activity, I don't think that I would have actually been taking care of my emotions.
Right.
Right? I would have been doing something, enjoyable.
Right.
But that's not taking care of my emotions, right? And so I think that we need to get away from that.
Right.
And get away from this idea that self-care should be quote unquote easy. And I think I feel so strongly about this because obviously I'm talking about self-care all the time and feelings and all that sort of stuff. I don't want people under the impression that this necessarily should be quote unquote easy.
Right. No, I think
hard.
I can't agree more. And I know, most people think, at least in the clinical circles, we talk about emotional self-care, but I just also, I want to expand it. There's self-care for your mind, self-care for your emotion, self-care for your physical body. If you think about it, self-care for your physical body isn't necessarily easy. To your point, it's not always spas. It's also running. It's also getting up and exercising. It's also eating right. Like, all these things are self-care. Would one say that eating a salad rather than a cheeseburger is easy? I don't know if anybody would say it that way, right? Like, but that's what care involves. Same thing for your emotions, I think, obviously, as a fellow therapist, coming to psychotherapy, That's a lot of work. And talk about self-care for how you feel.
Yeah.
These are super powerful, super important things. They're not easy.
Yeah, and therapy's not easy.
Right.
Right? Let's not get it twisted. I ask people to, or I work with people outside of their comfort zone.
Right.
Almost every time that I see them.
Right.
We actually get very, very, very uncomfortable in therapy because that's usually what needs to happen. Right. So yeah, if we're seeing therapy as one of the best self-care things that we can think of, it's hard.
Right.
It's really, really hard, and it's really, really worth it. Right. I think that it's actually, to take this one step further, it's a little bit dangerous to perceive that self-care should be easy. Because if I'm under that impression and I keep doing my quote-unquote self-care, which is basically just doing things that make me feel quote-unquote good, I'm not actually taking care of myself.
Right.
In fact, I'm probably neglecting my needs even more. And then, I don't know, after a blank number of years doing it, I might be wondering, like, why isn't this self-care working? Why do I still feel terrible? And I think it's because the messaging out there is that, it should be easy and put on a face mask and, that's self-care and then you're taking care of yourself. Good job. You know what I mean?
No, I do. Just one thing that comes to mind is always think people look forward to a Saturday. Oh, I'll go out, have a couple of drinks, right? Like that's always involved in there. Eat like a pig, let's say, hang out with my friends, go to sleep at 2 a.m. That's going to be my personal time. But if you think about it, you're consuming alcohol, probably not eating well, going to sleep late, waking up late, right? And you probably was gossiping or bullshitting anyway during that conversation. None of these things is actually taking care of yourself. There may be some avoidance strategies there away from actually what you needed to attend to. Maybe you just had an argument with your significant other, so you packed up your stuff and you went to self-care because you didn't want to have the conversation. That's not self-care.
Mm-hmm. Self-care would be going to bed at your regular time on Saturday night and continuing to eat those healthy and nutritious foods and, I don't know, maybe limiting the alcohol so you actually get good sleep that night and you're not putting poison in your body. And yeah, so look at that paradox right there.
Right.
The quote-unquote self-care is actually making us feel 10 times worse.
Right.
And if that's a pattern week in, week out, yeah, you're probably not going to feel that great because you're actually not taking care of yourself. When you're doing your quote-unquote self-care, you're doing opposite of care.
Right. It's almost like it's avoidance and contributing to the negative state you found yourself. And I just want to make sure for listeners out there, we're not suggesting that doing a spa day or whatever day is not a great way to relax. It's just that just be mindful that caring for yourself, to me, almost sounds like it implies some particular healing or growth in a particular area, and just avoiding it with like, I don't know, other things that you're doing may not necessarily be exactly that, because sometimes maybe you really needed to stay and feel those uncomfortable feelings and engage with your significant other rather than going to a spa to relax.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, having a difficult conversation with significant does not sound fun or enjoyable, but that's where self-care actually would lie.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that, I don't know, anyone listening to this might be able to, tune in a little bit more about their quote-unquote self-care and really see if it actually is. But anyways, I think we're nearing our final call here.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think we're inadvertently kind of hopefully talk some people out of buying into the advertisements out there that pair up enjoyment and self-care into like this sort of bundle of joy that happens, which really isn't. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So thank you out there for
yeah, and my final call is basically just that. I mean, really, what we've been talking about the whole time. Check out what you're actually telling yourself is self-care.
Right.
And be comfortable with doing the difficult things that are challenging that actually are beneficial and healthy for yourself.
Right. And mine would be, obviously, that's sort of central. Just to add there, we're not suggesting don't do enjoyable things, but see enjoyable things as enjoyable things. And potentially sometimes, like a Venn diagram, sometimes they overlap. Sometimes they overlap. Let's say if somebody likes to go to a spa and that's physically relaxing, or a massage, that is physically relaxing. So potentially could overlap, but don't always confuse enjoyment with self-care, because oftentimes self-care also requires dedication and consistency and leaning into discomfort. That's where care and growth comes from. So that's my hopefully last call, is that people notice where they overlap and where they're completely different.
Awesome. So hopefully this was helpful to some listeners out there. As always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll chat with you next time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, guys, and talk soon.